Hi, welcome. My name is Danielle Knapp. I'm the Makash curator here at the JSMA, and I am so pleased that we are able to present today's program with Sashko. We're so thankful that you're all here to hear him speak about his work. This program is graciously funded by the Colleges of Arts and Sciences and contributed to by various academic programs, including the Folklore MA program, and we're so thankful too for Irina and Melanie and everyone who's worked on organizing not just today's event, but the other events in partnership at the MNCH and the School of Music to bring so many wonderful, creative Ukrainian artists and musicians to campus to speak with us that we can learn from and be in community with. Before I introduce our speaker today, I'd like to begin with a land acknowledgement. The University of Oregon is located on Kalapuya Ilihi, the traditional indigenous homelands of the Kalapuya people, who were dispossessed of their indigenous homeland because of treaties with the U.S. government in the 1850s and were removed to the coastal reservations. Today, most of their descendants are members of the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde Community of Oregon and the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians, and continue to make contributions to their communities, to the state, nationally, and we're so thankful to have this opportunity to acknowledge whose land we're on for today's program. We also express our respect to all the federally recognized tribe of Oregon and all other members of our Native and Indigenous communities who call what's now known as Oregon their home. Today's program features Sashko Danylenko, a Ukrainian filmmaker, visual storyteller, illustrator, and multimedia artist from Kharkiv. Sashko combines folk and contemporary nature and digital styles in his works, as we'll see. He's directed many music videos for famous Ukrainian artists and is now based in the U.S. and works on Animadoc. Is that the right Animadoc?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Animadoc projects for TED Talks, the School of Life, Topic, Ukrainian Institute of America, and many more. And many of his films and videos have gone viral, so you may have already encountered his work. Since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine on February 24th, 2022, Sashko's been working on illustration and media projects to promote Ukrainian culture and stories about bravery and the humanity of Ukrainian people. His work has been part of international exhibitions and events and helping to raise funds for humanitarian aid for Ukraine. And I know that will be plenty of time for questions and conversation. So after he shares images of the work, you invite questions together. The museum does close at 5 o'clock today, so we'll also just make sure that as we're having our conversation, just be aware that when we're wrapping up here, there might not be time to go up in the galleries, or we might have to be prepared to leave this room a little before 5. But we're looking forward to sharing the stories and the conversation in the time that we have. So please join me in welcoming Sashko Danylenko.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming today and thank you for introduction. So I would like to tell you about this project that I made last year, Superheroes Among Us. That's the stories of Ukrainians during like a full-scale invasion of Russia to Ukraine. And as you mentioned, like I did a lot of animation projects, and that was like my main job. And illustration, it was always like a side work because you need to do illustration as like a stills for animation. But after full-scale war, things changed a lot, and even like it affected your regular work, because like for animation, what I realized, like you need to have slow heart rate, you need to plan in advance, you need like more time, more planning. And when you see all this like news, when you stay in touch with your like family, friends, asking if they are okay, and watching news all the time, you have like a lot of adrenaline in your blood, and you want to react fast, but you still want to do something. So in this time, animation like become like really handy, and I didn't plan it like as a series. It's just like started with first picture of Nastya Tikha. You're probably familiar with original picture taken by Christopher Ciccone. So what happened in the city of Irpin, in Kiev region, Russia tried like to invade that city, and they bombed civilians and just regular houses, and a lot of people tried to escape the city. So Nastya, she's a volunteer, and she took care about dogs with disabilities. And here I want to have a warning for some pictures of war and some explicit content for the next slides, so please be prepared. And so this is like original picture, and this is pictures from the same days that this photographer Christopher took those days in Irpin. And he's really awesome photographer and very brave person. He's from New York, and I highly recommend you to follow him on Instagram. You see his name, you can find him and see he's keep posting pictures. So when I saw this picture, I had such a strong and mixed feelings, because at the same time how scary it is, it's really strong, and it makes a really strong visual statement. And I decided just to share these stories on my Instagram, and to make that I decided to make it in illustration. So I decided to add more hope, more bright colors, and to highlight how strong this young woman is. So for her page, I want you to also see I mentioned her tag on Instagram. She's doing fine right now. She moved from that city. She got a new house. She rented that house with her husband, and they built a new place to host animals and try to help animals find a new home. And so she's will be happy if you write a few words for her and send some support. So you can find her on Instagram. And recently she posted that that was original picture, and the funny things about that, in a famous version, it's not including her husband. It was cut out just by composition, or I don't know. So you can see him in a full picture, and they doing great. They a great team and partners helping animals right now. And I'm proud that she got my picture on her page as her avatar, because there was a lot of people who did the same, who was inspired by this strong picture, and they made a lot of drawings. So I'm happy that she chose this one. So the next story I made, it was about a postman who was mobilized to army, and he shot very high advanced Russian plane with very outdated old weapon. That's why it was important. That was important message to Europe, to United States and other countries to provide more ammunition and armor to Ukraine, because there was a huge need. There was a people who was ready to protect their land and use that weapon, but people can use a really old weapon to shot very high-tech planes. And to highlight that he is a postman, I added logo of Ukraine Post on his back, and also that pigeon. See, it has some message. It was used a lot in a pigeon mails in the past. And here is original picture of him. I guess I don't remember exactly his age, but he's over 50, and his son found me on Instagram, and he told me that father was really happy to see these pictures, and he said hi, and I sent him original file to print that picture. That was big honor for me. So that was a second picture, and the next one I made is a woman with sunflower seeds. I watched the video on Instagram. Somebody posted very brave woman just facing Russian occupants and having conversation with them, and telling them we are not happy to see you here, because that was just the beginning of invasion, and it was people in some cities don't really understand what happened, who is these people with weapon on the streets. So she approached them and asked like, "What you doing here? And who are you?" And when she found out that like they're Russians, they said like, "You're not welcome here. You're occupants, and you will die here if you're not going back. But if you will die here, put sunflower seeds in your pockets. So when you die, at least sunflowers will grow up here." And I have this video here, so we can watch it.
А хто ви такі? Які вчення? Звідки ви? Які вчення? Ви що, росіяни?
Да.
Якого хера ви тут робите?
Ну, сейчас наш с вами разговор ни к чему не приведет.
Вы оккупанты, вы фашисты, вы пришли на нашу землю.
Хорошо.
Какого хера вы пришли с оружием к нам?
Кто сказал?
Возьмите семечки, положите сырые,
Хорошо.
чтобы хоть подсолнухи росли, когда вы здесь
Хорошо.
ляжете.
Сейчас наш разговор ни к чему не приведет. Давайте не будем усугублять эту ситуацию. Пожалуйста.
Как усугублять
Пожалуйста,
ситуацию?
не будем усугублять ситуацию. Наш с вами
Ребята,
разговор ни к чему не
Ребята,
приведет.
положите в карманы
Ничего не
семечки.
решит наш с вами разговор.
Я поняла, положите семечки или
Хорошо.
семена цветов.
Я-
Вы здесь семенами
Я
ляжете.
Сделаю.
Вы
Да,
пришли
хорошо.
на мою землю.
Хорошо, я вас выслушал.
Вы понимаете?
Я вас
Вы
выслушал.
оккупанты.
Хорошо.
Вы враги.
Да.
И вы уже с этой секунды прокляты.
Да,
Я вам отвечаю.
все. Теперь послушайте меня.
Я вас услышала.
Не будем усугублять ситуацию, пройдите.
А
пожалуйста.
куда уже усугублять? Вы пришли, блядь, непрошенные
Хорошо.
твари, конченые.
She did really strong statement that like become viral, and that phrase was used a lot just like to show what people really think about this invasion. And so yeah, that was a picture of her. Unfortunately, like I don't know her like real name, but like there was a lot of similar situations where people behave like the same way. So it's not exception. So the next picture is about a brave surfer who jumped on armored vehicle in Kherson. And I also have a video of that day. So Kherson was occupied until November 11, and it was like freed during Ukrainian counteroffensive. And that city was like showed a lot of resistance to occupation, and they have a lot of like a partisan movement during that time. And you see how people resisted to invasion in the beginning, and here is that video. So in this illustration, I decided like to enhance how strong he is to add like more weight. So see, he's just like pressing down, and it's like the armored vehicle is bended like it's like made it from paper and all these rocks. And they use the houses around it to build a wave. So he's just like surfing on it and use it like as he can control it. But unfortunately, the events after that took like long months, and we'll probably hear like more investigations and more horrible stories from that city, how people spent those months as under occupation. But at least now, the things is like much better because city is in Ukraine again. So the next story is from city of Kanata. And this city is famous from old book by Grigoriy Danylenko that called like Witch of Kanatop. And there is a legend says like every woman in Kanatop is a witch. And they confirmed that on this video when a woman said like you're not welcome here, and your opinion is not gonna work tomorrow because you're cursed, because like everybody in the city is like, every woman is a witch. And so I have this video. I don't have captions, but you'll get the mood.
Вы вообще-то знаете, где находится? Это Канатор. Здесь каждая вторая женщина – это ведьма. У тебя завтра хуй стоять уже не будет. Серьезно.
So I believe all this like resistance of regular citizens played a huge role in like motivation of Russian soldiers, because they were told they will be like welcome and people will treat them with flowers, and but they got these reactions from everybody. So they were told like they will come to free people, but it was opposite. And for these pictures, I choose to draw Ukrainian symbol trezub, trident, in a circle in the style of like a pentagram, to make it like more witchy. And you see like all this melted armory stands for just like for a big penis. Power of magic. So the next story. So in this project, you will see the mix of like real persons and like city legends, because I decided like that's one of the things like you can do with illustrations, because you can melt the boundary between like legends and real humans, and just like providing additional context will tell you like what stories is like really happened and what stories is become myth. So this one was the story that told about Ukrainian Romans. It's like a minority group living in Ukraine. That was like a lot of jokes in the past that those people were very talented for stealing horses, and they made that kind of jokes about themselves too. So somebody told and reported that Ukrainian Romans steal Russian tank. And I decided to make the picture of like Roma sitting on the tank in the style of like a horse. And that situation was not exception as well, because there was a lot of videos on YouTube tutorials how to steal the tank. So everybody who get access to it, like a lot of farmers can find Russian tanks in the fields, so they can get inside and just like watch video from YouTube, like step by step how to turn it on and bring it to Ukrainian army. And a lot of people just participated in that like land lease from Russia. The next story is also a kind of myth. I would like to provide more context. It's about the ghost of Kiev. So during like the beginning of full invasions, there was a lot of action happening nearby Kiev, and people saw. Okay. And people saw a lot of like airplanes doing like crazy things in the air to protect the city and shut down missiles, Russian planes and other like drones and all that like stuff attacking city from the air. So people start thinking about like it's all one plane, and someone is like who is fighting. It's just like got like some magic abilities, because you find a lot of videos about like the ghost of Kiev on social medias, but the truth about that was like a teamwork. So that was like a teamwork of Ukrainian fighter pilots who did amazing job, and there is a lot of them died during that time because they like was outnumbered techniques, and they took like really hard challenges. But overall, the Ghost of Kiev, it's a legend right now, and I decided to depict it. And he's standing on the stela in the Maidan in the center of Kiev, and I also decided to show him like real superhero from comic book world. So I made him like a jetpack with wings, and I have a Ukrainian Army Aviation logo on it. And also you see the sword. It also like has implemented trezub, Ukrainian symbol on it. And also like his trace in the air, doing like pirouettes. So we getting back to real people again. This is sisters Olga and Evgenia, who were forced to relocate from Kiev. They moved to Germany during full-scale invasion, and they took with them like 50 cats of people who were forced to move as well and were not able to take animals with them, or people who lost houses, or other occasions, and they did a great job to find for those animals new houses. And I spoke with them, and they say like it was like really challenging. Some of the cats were like run out from new families, and they came to that town to help to find them. And there was like a lot of work. And Zhenya, she is volunteering for this foundation, Хочу кота. You see that like extension for Instagram, you can find them. And she taken beautiful pictures of animals to help find them like new families, because pictures matter. And so she always like doing a lot of amazing pictures of animals, putting some descriptions. And now they return to Kiev, but they still keep volunteering for this organization. You can find them on Instagram and also like say hi, say thank you, and support them. And you can decide if you want to donate to Хочу кота and support them as well. This is the story of Dr. Irina Kondratova from Kharkiv. She received access from David Beckham from his Instagram page. He gave her access to his page for a few days, so she can speak to 70 million subscribers of David page, and tell them like what's the conditions in Kharkiv, how people stand this invasion, and how they like doing like how medics doing their job in the basements, and what conditions are. So that was like a great opportunity to share the world what's happening in Kharkiv. And I made that picture from the basements where they used to work during that time, and I used just like a frame of David Beckham page to show like she used it as a window to speak out, and I have a picture of her. And this video is David Beckham Instagram page. You can, if you want, you can find it and watch it. And he also spoke about this initiative and explained like why he decided to do that. So the next story is also like very like worldwide famous of defenders of Zmyny Island. And so when Russian warship tried to invade and occupy a small island that like was like on like a border control over there, and when they reached out, they said like you must surrender. And the one response they received, like, Russian warship, you can go fuck yourself. And that words became like famous, viral. And so the full story, we were told that was like they were everybody on that island was died. Then the next update was they got to, how do you call it? 1 second. So the next update was they were supplemented, and they took to Russia. And after that, the person who said those words were freed and returned to Ukraine, and even like got some like medals. But after that, we received update that was like a special operation to take out real person who said those words, and that person remains in secret right now, because if Russians will know for sure who said those words, they will kill that person. So to protect another guy, took the credit for him, because he was like in Ukraine already by the moment when they revealed his name. but we'll follow this story in the future and see like more updates. But I have a video of the like original recording and also the reaction in the world and how people took that phrase viral.
Русский военный корабль! Russian warship? Иди нахуй!
Русский корабль, иди нахуй.
Русский корабль, иди нахуй.
Русский военный корабль, иди нахуй.
Русский военный корабль, иди нахуй.
Ты русский военный корабль, иди нахуй.
So I'm really want to get more updates on that story, so we'll follow up and maybe I will do another illustration to add additional context to continuation of what happened next. And so the next picture is dedicated to Ukrainian firefighters who need to come and react really fast for every shelling that's happening right now, and it happened a lot in the east of Ukraine. So they put their lives on the risk all the time, and I decided to include them in these pictures because they like play really important role in this war right now. And to make this picture, I also like used some elements to make it look like more from the comic world. So he got that like live horse that moves like a snake and looks like a snake. That X is from original Ukrainian folklore from Carpathian Mountains. That's like a national X that used for these days as well. And also you see that element of Vyshivanka embroidery on his uniform here. And for his helmet you also see like a trident, trezub, added to his helmet. The next story was about cyber specialist who also played a strong role, who's playing a strong role in this war, and it's not only about like anonymous, but also Ukrainian cyber police and other professionals who work in that field and help to prevent a lot of bad things happening, and also to fight back on some DDoS attacks and leaks, and to protect data, because this war is really different to everything that we witnessed before and to other wars, because social media and data plays huge role right now. We have like a lot of pictures, we have a lot of videos, we have a lot of artificial intelligence used to create fakes or to witness facts and to picture them. So you need to separate those things and you need to keep your data secure. So this picture was about like anonymous, but like I would love to add more people to this context who's working right now. And to make this picture, I used like regular mass of people who's working in IT or who's working in the cybersecurity. So you see all this like stuff laying around. I use blue and yellow color for cables. And for this like overall composition, my inspiration was this picture of Kazakh Mamai. So he's sitting in the same position, and also replaced a horse with a bicycle. So see, like all these elements is like cross-connected. This guy is really famous. You probably know him if you follow the news. This is Patron, the most famous dog in Ukraine, maybe in the world at this moment. He is a supper dog, and he got a lot of followers on Instagram right now. You can join them. I have his name over there, and he's doing a great job with working on deoccupied territories and cities to make them safe for people to come back. And interesting fact about him, he's not like a service dog over there, so he's not like officially working for the SNS. and he's like volunteer. And in this case, he don't have any benefits that like all those dogs have, like retirement and payments and. But I believe that like he's celebrity right now, so he got like other benefits from there, and he's working just like for his favorite cheese, and his owner take care of him like really nice, and a lot of people is really worried about him, like is it safe for him to go next to all these like exploding objects, but professionals say that like his weight is not enough to initiate explosions because like all those things is made for people to step on it, so it's safe for a dog. And I have a picture of him, so see, that's the guy. You can follow him on Instagram because they also like have a lot of great content, and they have a lot of information of like current updates on the occupation process and about cities, about safety, what people should do to stay safe in the places where like you can find stuff like that just like in your backyard. And for this picture I use like heroic pose, and I use the same kind of patches and stickers that he got on his uniform and just like put them like in different places. And patron stands for like a bullet, so that's why I put him like on the gold chain, the bullet. And his metal detector got like trident as well. You see that like it's added to the picture too. So this story about professor having lessons from trenches, he got his like Zoom meetings with his students while being like on east of Ukraine in a hot spot. But he's like really care about his education, and he see future that like Ukrainians should be like educated well, and his duty is not only protect but also like provide his knowledge. So he got his lections every Tuesday at 8 a.m. and I will show you the original pictures that was like based on. So that's him, and I added more elements to show that he's like belongs to professor world. He got like bookshelves next to him, and he got also like a book as armory, so his knowledge protects him for this shot. And you can also find him on Instagram and follow him and say hi, say thank you to him if you're inspired by his stories. And his friends who made that shot reached out to me and asked me to use this picture for charity. So they made like really awesome cookies that they sell, and all the profit from this sales goes to that division that Fedor Shandoris got duty right now. And the last person in this series is Andrei Kazanchuk. He's a military psychologist, and I decided to add him to this stories because he played like really strong role in the beginning of full invasion on his YouTube streams and speaking to people, explaining what's happening with you, how war stress, what influence it has on you, and it was like overall supportive. And he, being like a military person, had that skill to bring humor to really dark things and change your perspective just a little bit. So you feel like I'm not gonna need to like be like soft and cry, and I need to act and like explaining what happened to regular people and military. And he's playing strong role in the future as well, because I feel like we need to implement more psychology help and show like change relationship with psychology overall in Ukraine, because we have a lot of like post-Soviet trauma when people think like it's really bad to go to psychologist and you need to go for that therapy only if like something really bad happened and you're crazy. So there is a lot of cliche about that, but things like getting much better right now, and people like psychologists will have a lot of work in the future, because at this moment of time, it's really hard to say like what is the real consequences on the people's minds that we have right now, because we're like still in a position of like active war right now. So we'll have more consequences soon. So I hope some professionals will do their job very well. So to build this picture, I use this pose and famous picture of Sigmund Freud and Andrei to add together. And you see like he's working with people's thoughts. So the smoke from the pipe turns to like bubbles. You usually have in the comic books of like people thinking. And there is like words from Ukrainian army on those measurements. So he got like that approach to measure people's minds from the perspective of being like a military person. That was the last picture on this slide, and I would like you to thank you for listening to my stories, and also like use these two organizations, very trusted, like they are on the top of my list, to make donations and support and see some news. And sometimes it's not only like about money that you can donate directly, but also like see what else you can do. And if you go to Razon page, you can find a lot of ways how you can help, because you can also speak to your local politicians, or you can join some movements, you can join some events, you can use your talent or skills the best way possible. And also you can meet your soulmates and a lot of amazing people who will really appreciate your help. So let me go back to the first slide to show you all pictures all together. And I'm happy to proceed to your questions if you have any. Thank you very much. Yes, please.
What is the symbolism behind this red, almost Japanese sun and rays behind every?
Yeah, it's you already have like partially my answer in your question, because yeah, I use it like as a sun and as a like element of composition to just like highlight the most important object, but also it got some like influence from like religious pictures when you show that somebody got that like position of like of saint, because I'm really impressed by the actions those people took and that like what they did. But at some point I just did a few first illustrations with that circle, even not like realizing I'm using it like every time. And maybe like from picture number 4, I decided to include it in every shot, because that was like a series. And I got some like requests to make it as an exhibition, because I never thought like I will make it like as a series of 15, because it was just like ongoing projects. You have some events, you have some reflections, and at some point I realized, okay, I will make it stop on 15, and I did first exhibition in Berlin, Germany, and I realized that this stories works really well for people who are not really deep in the context of happening. So it's a nice conversation starter. Sorry, I changed the subject a little bit. I just forgot what I mentioned, but I hope I got answer for your question. And also, after exhibition in Seattle, I have like all these pictures left as the canvases, and I decided like what I can do with them next. So I posted them on sale on my website, and I decided to make donations. Like I sell all of them like for $200, and I'm donating $100 directly to the person who is on the picture, or ask that person, like for instance, for Friedrich Nur, when somebody bought his picture, I asked him like where he wants those monies to go, and he chose Come Back Alive that you had like on that previous slide. For Nastya Ticha, I donated her twice for her like a food for dogs, because she returned a couple of times to the hot spots to take more animals or bring some food for animals for people who are not able to go to the store. And so the concept was also like to sell these pictures and help directly, or for some like semi-fictional characters, I decided to just donate to some organizations from that city. For instance, for Kanatop Beach, I don't know that person who said those amazing words personally, so I donated money for the charity organization from Kanatop, and they say they were there during that recording. They heard it like from other side, but they don't know that person as well. So that's the long answer to your question.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have questions? Yes, please.
Yes, so you said that you stopped after 15 and you had to stop, but if a lot of things happened and this was quite in the past, so if you were writing, creating another series or continuing the series now, what kind of stories would you like to include?
At this moment, I feel like I'd rather to switch to another project and another way to tell the stories, because I don't want to stuck to like one concept and keep it going until like it's dead. Like it's just like I don't want to ride on this horse to the moment when it's dying, and I just want to keep it conceptual and to save this like emotions and reflection on war in this form. But like I still see a lot of stories of inspirations right now, and I see how people changed. Like I see new names and see new actions happening right now, but I probably will find another way to tell those stories. Maybe it's going to be like animation, or maybe they will be added to a comic book, but not in this series, because I want to just like close it at this point. Yes, please.
Can you tell us a little bit about the materials you use when you create your art?
So yeah, when I used to work with animation, I had a lot of like screen time working on laptop, and I tried to minimize the time and bring more like a natural approach. So I use a lot of like watercoloring to work with animation. So if you see my other works, it looks totally different. But with animation, I'm doing like everything is digital and it's made on iPad. And that was like really fast way to deliver your idea. And I can make any of those pictures like in 1-2 hours and post them on Instagram and get like some feedback that inspired me as well, and take it to account on the next step. But like everything else that I do right now is made on iPad, and I have it with me, so you're not limited on your like workspace. You can work anywhere where you want, like on the airplane or whatever.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Are you working on another project connected to Ukraine right now?
Yes, I have several projects, and one of the projects I can show you fast preview right now. So we continue working on the projects about psychology help, and right now I feel like I'm finally got to the moment I can return back to animation, because I have like a much slower heart rate right now and like less amount of stress, so I can keep back on animation. And I will show you just like it's a 15-minute video, but maybe I will show you just 1 minute. It's this video is in Ukrainian, but it got English captions. So this is like short preview of the project we just finished this week, and we made it with support of First Lady of Ukraine and her foundation. And the goal is to get people to some like health protocols and how they can manage some issues with mental health and get like professional help. But the goal of this animation project is to tell complex things like with simple words, and to introduce people to like mental therapy. So, and the script is made with amazing team of Ukrainians. Mark Levin is a Ukrainian writer, and he got a podcast about psychology. So he wrote this script, and Marina Veremenko, she's amazing animation artist living in Portugal right now, because she was forced to relocate as well from Ukraine to stay safe. And this project was a great opportunity also to provide work to people who lost their bonds to like a normal life and do good things at the same time. And I was director on this project, and we just finished it. So I'm not sure what I will do like next week. I have some things. I didn't prepare for that. See. Thank you for asking. So, yeah, that's my name on Instagram, and you can find me the same way on Facebook. And also, I forgot to mention that I have some like merchandise with my original designs here on that table. I'm donating 30% of the profits to Razom for Ukraine, that organization that I had on the slide. And I have some ongoing projects about like cities. I'm making some designs and pictures of Ukrainian trident built from landmarks and some significant elements of the city. So I have New York, Seattle, and a few more cities ongoing right now. You still see those t-shirts over there. I have stickers, and I have my comic book. That comic book is from 2016, so there is no like new stories that reflects what's happening like nowadays. But I made this comic book while living in New York about some social issues that touched me. Yeah, and also I have like stickers, magnets, so you'll see that table on the way out. So if you help me to go light back home, I would really appreciate it. Does anybody else? Yes.
Well, art, and especially this kind of art, is a very powerful tool to get a message across, especially about war in Ukraine and what's happening there, and in kind of not trivial way. But my question is, like, when you are presenting your art in different places throughout the world, and before the lecture we talked that you've been to Berlin and there is a different perception of your art. The question is like, what kind of messages do you need to make across in different places, including the United States, or maybe different parts of the United States comparing to Europe, and what kind of questions do you need to answer to people who are not very familiar with the Ukrainian context and what's going on out there?
Yeah, so for all events that like people is invited to come, you actually already have nice people because they decided to come to these things and they made it like there is no like random people. That's why your conversation usually goes like smoother, but depends like how deep people are in context or how strong Russian propaganda influence they got. Like you need to provide more and more context. Sometimes you just can like mention and make some things just like, you know, mentioning the name of like inside joke and everybody got it. Or sometimes you need to provide more historical context, and that amount of context always depends. And but I'm happy that people bring in some questions and they adopt some things that like Russian propaganda, like they spend huge amount of money for a very long time, and now we need to fight it back and explain like what is the real things. And I'm happy to see that like modern tools, they spend huge amount of money on that like propaganda, but in these days you can use like a memes and you can make like funny pictures, and just like few people making fun content, they can make a stand and fight it back like pretty strongly. So I have strong hope that that's gonna happen again, and this like event is a good sign that like we're moving in the right direction and we have conversation. Yes, please.
You just mentioned memes, that memes are helpful sometimes to release the stress of war on people, or explain some information. Do you have one meme in mind that like keeps rolling around in your head when you think about war?
It's hard to depict one, but from the recent, I really love all these jokes about Shukavitsa mountain. You know that place, like when people in Kiev decided to organize orgy on the mountain if there's gonna be like nuclear explosions, and so you probably like die anyway, so why not to make the orgy? And all memes about that was like such a strong move to just like laugh in the face of the fear and death. So it's funny, but you feel like what stands behind that. So probably Shikavitsa was like this really strong one.
I just want to add to Shchikavitsa meme. I think in central Ukraine, like Kyiv region, it was about Shchikavitsa mountain, that people would go to Shchikavitsa mountain and do orgy before nuclear reaction. And this is really powerful. I'm Ukrainian, by the way. This is really powerful way to fight the fear of nuclear strike and to fight nuclear blackmail, what Russians have been doing to us for like all this war, and also to the entire world. But I'm from Western Ukraine, and we had like continuation of that meme. We had addition that if nuclear strikes happen, we should do like pray ceremony along central streets in Lviv, and just all city would gather together and pray, and it's connected. It's connected to our long history of religion. If anything serious is happening in your life, you need to go to church and pray. So we had a joke that instead of going to Shchikavitsa, we would just gather.
It's nice to have a choice. Like you can select what group you want to join to see your like mood.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank you. I just want to thank you for
Thank you very much.
spreading this message around the world and for delivering that information I think in a different way, because you can make a presentation, you can make anything, but delivering information through art is really wonderful. I want to thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And you had a question, right?
Yeah, it's so extremely complex, but for instance, the woman that did this little protest about the sunflower seeds, I don't know how much you can follow through with it, but do you think it has any impact?
I feel like
those kinds of street theater and those kinds of, like, stating, like, you're not welcome here, you're occupying us. And do you think there's any impact on the Russians?
I feel like it has impact on Russians who is watching videos, but like I don't have any hope for that impact. So it should be like some Russian soldiers need to see that they like not welcome, and that's enough for them to like have lowered their expectation to lower to the hell their expectation that what they will experience in Ukraine. But for civilian Russians, I have like a zero hope they can make a change, because they had so many chances to do something. I did nothing, so I'm just like don't really care about influence on them because they are hopeless. But on the other hand, that video played a strong influence on Ukrainians. So you see that resistance, and you see like, okay, if those people can do something, I probably can do something as well. So I would like to separate those things that way.
Yeah, because there's family, there's family in Russia and Ukraine, and is there any way to
I have family members.
Some leaks of I know there are a lot of Russians that are very anti-war, but yet they're under this, oppression and all this propaganda and echo chambers that they're living with.
I can say for everybody, but I have a family member who is living in Russia, and I stopped to talk to him on the first day of full-scale war because I realized he just passed that point where he can like return to normal thinking, and he's lost for me, because those people, they have so many excuses and they standing for such wrong values that I don't see any reasons, like even like a family bond, it's not the reason to have like something in common with people who is just like have wrong values. So it's a drama for sure. It's a trauma for sure. But like you need to make a choice. It's like a tough time, and some people just changing their behavior because in a way you didn't expect. And some people is like doing amazing things, and some people they just like playing that role to help enemy, and by the end it end up like by killing people. That ignorance is like really dangerous. Yeah, thank you.
So, sorry.
Yes. Yes.
Just one more question. So there are the stories that you tell through this art, and all these stories that are connected to these images. But when you present this art, so do you think do you have a kind of message for people who want to learn more about Ukraine, understand it better, and that you would like to give like one thing that people would like? You would like people to know, and you would like people to understand, right? One thing that you think people misunderstand about Ukraine a lot.
I want to just like I don't want to take like that big role to really direct people or bring some like a obvious strong message. I just want like to entertain them and to show direction where they can like deep more. So if you're like interested of some of these stories, some of these cities, you can go back home and go online and find more information on that. And I see that role just like that way. So you need to start conversation. You need to bring some interesting stories. You need to inspire somebody like to explore more. But it's more like educational process. I need to say like you just spoke today about those things. Like in some level, you need to like do a lot of like self-educations. And this is the same case. Like if you're interested, you just use these stories as a first step to explore more and see, like for instance, like to see the story of Kherson, and just from seeing the pictures, next things you need to do like a homework and do your research. Yes.
Maybe two comments, or maybe you can kind of reflect on them too.
Mm-hmm.
Like your art is about people standing up to challenge and facing the war and facing death, and those are normal people who were about being just as you and me and everybody else in this room. But when the moment came, they stood up and they like made their choices. You mentioned. Okay, I'm getting lost with my question, but yeah, you also mentioned that you are donating the revenue from your art to the war effort, basically, mm-hmm. to come back alive, like Razom for Ukraine. Maybe it's indirect, but the foundation Come Back Alive is definitely it's a war effort foundation who helps the army with weapons, with training, with ammunition and things like that. And like from my own experience, especially in this town, there is a strong anti-war sentiment, saying that we should just stop fighting right away and then we'll figure out how to resolve that. And we as Ukrainians know that this is not how it works, because the other side doesn't want to negotiate and doesn't want to stop fighting. And and the second one is like a strong anti-global warming and pro-ecological sentiment, and this and the message that this war is very very pro-global warming. The Russian Federation has been pumping the world with the fossil fuels and made the Western world, the Western Europe and the others as like drug addicts, and trying to make the other world to look away from what they are doing, just because they've been hoping to pump the Western world with gas and oil and everything, and those messages do not really come come through and land here in these societies. So would you see any prospect of
So in terms of the stories that you brought, it's definitely more complex things that you can just like put in one picture. And I feel like those stories are really important, and you need to talk about them. But maybe illustration is not the way to tell them, and it should be like a movies. It should be like a documentaries, that like a documentary series talking about these things closer. It requires more teamwork of journalists doing like some research, bringing like more facts and showing like what's the real numbers and like to compare. So it's more science work, and that's definitely needs to be done. And I hope like in near future we will see more projects like that. And talking about all this like ecology influence, like and war support. Actually, when I was a child, I also thought the same way. Like I thought like war is just like a fire. So as many branches you bring to the fire, so it's like burning like hotter and bigger. And so you to stop the fire, you need to like just stop putting branches in fire. And it's huge simplification, which not applies to real world, and especially in case of Russia, because you can think about that like only if you can take out like short period of time. But if you see the history, I really recommend you, if you're not familiar with those lectures of Timothy Snyder, to see and watch those videos when he's talking about the history in a huge period of time, and see like why we're here and why Russia is dangerous and why like imperialism, like Russian imperialism, is dangerous. And that's a big problem. So to support Ukrainian army right now is really important because we can stop the evil where it is and stop it from spreading. Because you don't need to explain it to people of Georgia, because people of Georgia, they have occupied territories, and life is never came back to normal on those territories. And people like definitely not happy who still live there. But if you have a long period of time, if you have like children raising in new environment, that's a big problem, because children taking everything that's around them like as a normal, and they growing up like screwed adults. And so that's why we need to prevent those things happening, and we need to have like normal life in Ukraine. And for that we need like weapon, we need a lot of support to fight back and have like a clear borderline in this like abusive relationship with such a bad, historically proved abuser like Russia. Yes.
Yeah, we just passed the 25-year mark of peace between Britain and Ireland, where they have their, they have a colony at the top of Ireland, and we had all these people died, all this destruction, and in the end, they just decided, okay, I guess we're going to live with this colony on Ireland. It's the same thing. We own part of Guantanamo bases on Cuba, and sometimes I'm wondering if there's a cost. What I've read about Ukraine is that the average couple only has one child, so the population is getting smaller anyway, and they're going to have all these people killed by war, and then it's just all this destruction. So I'm wondering if, you're just going to come to the same conclusion, but like a lot of death and a lot of destruction, that somehow we're going to have to make some sort of truce with these people. You say they're not willing to, though. Is it just Putin, or is it the whole country?
It's the whole country, that's the problem. And it's also like a simplification to think about that only belongs in one person. And actually, I feel like Putin is like very easy person to like see as evil, and it's like a villain. But if Putin will change for somebody else right now, that will be even like a bigger problem, because you need to do like more work to prove, like to show it was not only Putin, but because war will continue even if Putin will go, because they have a lot of like replacements, people of the same mindset. And as you mentioned, for those examples, I have no like rights to have any comments on that, because I'm not familiar with those wars. But I have nice example, even like a Second World War, when Germany is stopped and Germany stays in like its original, semi-original border lines right now, and people around have like semi-normal life. We have a lot of influence of that war, but evil was stopped at that moment. And seeing Ukrainian counteroffensive in Kherson and other places, like on the Ukrainian south, it brings more hope that other territories can be freed the same way, and Ukraine will be the same as in 1991. Yes.
I remember you said you wanted to have time for conversation also and to look at the art and the objects that you brought. And I didn't know if you wanted to move our conversation into the lounge.
Yeah,
or...
let's do it less formal and turn off the mic. Yeah, thank you very much, and let me know if you need something. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.